So, position 4, Lena here for the four zoomers side, I'm assuming?
And this is why we usually see those offlaners not picked up, because now if you don't pick your offlaner in the first phase, the issue that happens when you have second pick is that now you have to show something. If you don't have that Viper or that Razor, or even you could say that Puck, that flexibility isn't there. So now you're sort of going to either throw Devi Llama under the bus here or pick 1437's hero. And in either case, there's going to be a situation where four Zoomers are going to be able to, again, get the matchup that they want. They could really struggle for the anti-mage if they wanted to. They could go for some of these big reaches. They're going to instead pick up the Wyvern. I think that's going to be a 1437 hero. I'm not entirely sure, but again, they're trying to be fluid on the D2 Hustlers side, but I feel like this draft is a lot less convincing than their previous one, as well as now you have that Lena that's going to really be a thorn in Pandango's side if he is in that Treant Protector. And if we have to deal with more lane shenanigans, we saw last time that four Zoomers were able to get exactly what they want, call the lanes. So from a strategic standpoint, I think they're sort of outclassing D2 Hustlers here.
Yeah, we see the Ricky now coming out for four zoomers, so that should be the Sammy Boy hero. Normally, a hero that you're sort of a little bit iffy about in terms of his build-up, but you do have the mag to sort of buff up that damage and damage and farming rate with the Empower. So the Ricky should be coming along, honestly, at a pretty solid pace here, and the hero may have dropped off a little bit in terms of overall popularity, but he can still do a pretty substantial amount of damage combined with that mobility on the Ricky as well. Could spell trouble for the D2 Hustlers side. And looking at that D2 Hustlers lineup, we were sort of mentioning, or you were mentioning rather, it doesn't look quite as strong as maybe their Game 1 lineup did. If we do have to say maybe one thing sort of in their defense, there is a pretty substantial amount of control that this team has. They've got some big teamfight ults. You've got the Invoker with his bag of tricks. So I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to straight up win, but they could use a lot of that lockdown to try and maybe draw the fight out, create that separation, and then reassess the fight at that point. But that is going to require some excellent teamfight execution out from them with the heroes they have so far.
Well, in the Ricky, we've seen, I wonder how greedy he's going to get, but we saw in China, Ricky's just immediately rushing the Diffusal Blade, going sometimes no boots Diffusal Blade, getting it 7 or 8 minutes into the game. The hero just pairs so well with it. Now that you have that Magnus Steroid, it feels like this is a very, very free Ricky game. One of the best heroes versus Invoker as well. You Cold Snap Tornado him, he's just one spell, immediately tricks to the trade. You sort of have to play chicken with him to ever land a spell on that Ricky. And at the same time, you have that Cloud versus the Juggernaut, where Jug, he can't build really BKB. If he wants to go towards that, he's always going to need to be force-staffed out. He needs to be scared. And they're thinking a little bit splitting the bands here with Grimstroke Slardar, that maybe they could swap everything around. Slardar ban, it feels a little bit off the mark as well, but they want to sort of salvage this Jugs game as much as possible. But again, I feel like four Zoomers, no matter what they pick here, they've really left themselves in a really solid spot.
Yeah, draft-wise, they have worked themselves into a solid position, but we will have to see what that final pick sort of entails here. D2 Hustlers weren't entirely sure, as you mentioned, sort of splitting those bands. So will this be Brax on the Magnus again as it was in Game 1? Do they shift it around? Look for someone with, well, maybe a little bit more in the way of both lockdown and damage, sort of save the Magnus for almost a reserve role there, as we see the Lion coming out. Four Zoomers actually kind of taking it out of 1437's hands, although he wasn't playing it either way, with both Treant and Winter Wyvern picked up on the D2 side. But for four Zoomers, that makes them more dangerous. More lockdown and the nuke damage from the Finger of Death all going to sort of play a rather significant role for them.
Well, and now they must be thinking about some offlaner in mind that doesn't want to sit there and get mana drain, because 5-line, it's really easy to punish. But again, having this Winter Wyvern or this tree, the tree would definitely be more obnoxious for this Lion in lane. So we'll have to see how they sort of end up shaping their lanes. But still, at the end of the day, I feel like they really don't care. And they will go with the Axe. And the Axe, on paper, it feels good. The Ricky isn't really able to chase you around. You're going to need a rotation probably in from Gunner, but Gunner's on that TAA. He's not going to be able to punish an Axe creep cutting nearly as easily. But again, it's all about these individual performances when you're the underdog team. And unless Papa Tootie and Devi Llama really start popping off, I think I'd got to give this one to Four Zoomers again.
Yeah, they look, at this point, just maybe a little bit too strong. We'll see how it plays out, though. D2 Hustlers, well, I don't know. Lots of potential, right? But we have seen plenty of instances before where potential doesn't necessarily pan out into full-on success, but D2 Hustlers going to have to hope for the best. They're looking for that first win of this event, trying, as we mentioned previously, to hand Four Zoomers that first loss. They are now the only undefeated team left in the field with 5 straight victories after Undying ended up with that 1-1 draw earlier today. So quite the tall task for D2 Hustlers, and initially it may look like things are going to get a little bit rough for them, but we'll have to wait and see how things, well and truly go in terms of the actual execution in the match itself, as we are going to be loading in D2 Hustlers, holding things down in the Radiant half of the map, while we'll see Four Zoomers taking up that Dire side.
Yep, load in right now. And it feels like if they are going to win, if they are going to sort of find success in their lineup, we do see 1437 on that Winter Wyvern. They really just need to come out ahead in the lanes. They need to pull ahead in as many situations as possible. I think that this bottom lane is going to be a disaster for them. Lina is just simply one of the best heroes versus the Treant Protector in lane. You get these boots, so Ocean does need to be a little bit careful, but at the same time, he's got his own boots to sort of mirror this tree. And I think, yeah, Lina is 10 MS faster, so unless he really messes up, Pandago doesn't have any business getting on top of him. And we even just see Pandago walking over, blocking the small camp. I think they're already sort of aware of what's going on here. Maybe seeing if it's up on the high ground or what Pandago could have done there. But I think the line was envisioned to scout out that it was just a sentry. But unless Ocean really messes up, I feel like this bottom lane should more or less be a wash. If he ever steps out of line, the Treant Protector is just going to get stunned, skewered. Maybe they'll try and turn onto Brax once he gets a few more levels in that Leech Seed. But other than that, there's very little danger in that bot lane for the Four Zoomer side.
Yeah, and I think the worst part about that as well, you're mentioning the potential to get onto the Treant Protector. Early on in this match, this Jug is not going to be able to really cover his teammate. Maybe in ideal circumstances he pushes in with the Blade Fury and manages to make something happen there, but it feels like more often than not, if Pandago does get into trouble, his teammates are just going to sort of back off. But right now, look at that. Yeah, Husky, that's, well, a bit unfortunate for him. 4 heroes make their way in. The early Cold Snap out from Papatuti helps us set that one up. Pandago gets the slow, and Pandago actually gets the kill there as well. So Yuma was the one in with the Blade Fury. He's going to end up with the assist instead of the kill credit, but that's still a very solid first blood play to take down the Lion.
And pretty important that Pandago got it, to be honest, because he will be able to send out some regen for him, slightly more than he otherwise would have. But still, this lane, it's all about positioning. If Pandago gets a little bit too far forward, Ocean is just going to keep right-clicking him. He's going to be right-clicking his Jug for a lot of this lane as well. And we saw last time, Brax just able to sort of take over his offlane, farm up. There wasn't much that they could do about him, and Yuma can definitely get bullied here, especially at these earlier levels.
I want to point out, with that extra gold, the Treant, he had 3 sentries delivered out to him. So he knows what he's about. He does not want to give up that positioning. You mentioned earlier on, Ocean could potentially punish him pretty severely. So Pandago is going to do everything in his power to sort of prevent any detection from coming out so that he still has a little bit more to work with in this lane in terms of harassment, as he's trying to get onto that courier. Not quite fast enough for it, though. And Ocean turns him back around with the LSA. Pandago, though, he's going to keep on pushing forward, just trying to be as annoying as possible. It's a lot of damage from that tree. So anytime he can sort of get his hits in, it's most of the time going to be worth it as long as Ocean doesn't catch him out with a stun.
Well, and once we see level 2 having that Fire Soul up, that's when Pandago really needs to be careful because he's just going to eat so much more damage. You know, they're just spinning for the range creeps here. They're trying to get a lot of damage on Brax before he has that skewer, but still, I don't think it matters too much.
And Brax hitting level 2 actually went for the Shockwave for the little bit of extra damage there. So the Treant's going to get hit up once again, but as of yet, I don't think they're going to be able to get too many kills. We do see that point up in the Fiery Soul, though, for Ocean. So his offensive capabilities are going to take another step forward, and as you said, this is where Pandago is going to have to play a little bit more cautiously. You don't want to be passive, but can't afford to step too far out of line. So going to get a little bit, ooh, God, dicey there. Speaking of which, Papatuti and Gunner sort of duking it out in the river. It is going to be Gunner who was able to grab that water rune, but very nearly sort of threatened. He didn't have a whole lot of HP or mana remaining. The meld, though, does keep him safe as Papatuti's just forced to back off.
Yeah, and we'll see if Ocean ever does decide to make a rotation for the stacking for Gunner. See if he'll mirror 1437 in that regard.
1437, though, in some trouble. Hexed up in the top lane, but Husky's not able to get in there for the damage, and Divine Llama, yeah, you don't want to mess with that. 1 or 2 more spins, and Husky could have been put down. So the nice sort of defensive play from the Axe coming in to cover his teammate's retreat, and not only does he sort of defend 1437, he is continuing to put some damage in onto Sammy Boy. He's hitting him up with that Battle Hunger pretty frequently. This is really just standard stuff for the Axe, multiple points up in it. That DOT sort of pushes the Riki off the lane a little, and sort of keeps him on the back foot to a certain degree.
Yeah, and they have to be careful. And Husky, I think, might just go down here. They're trying to make the return play on the 1437, but it's very difficult for him to get him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Husky's just dead, I think.
And Divine Llama, yep, able to finish off the kill. So, I don't know. If you're Sammy Boy there, he tries. He very quickly realizes he doesn't have the damage. He's forced to back off, but there's not a whole lot he could do defensively to save his buddy as the Lion does fall, and that's going to be D2 Hustlers with back-to-back kills early on here. So those kills coming in quite nicely for them. Divine Llama, honestly, this lane's pretty damn good. 16-2 for him. He's got a kill on the board, and he's not going to shut Sammy Boy down, but he's at least sort of keeping him in the same general area as the Axe himself.
And he's just been very obnoxious. We always see this build nowadays where you get the 2 points in Battle Hunger, you sort of zone him off the wave. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Husky did try for a little cheeky pull, but Sammy Boy doesn't really have any spells to secure the last hit, so he ends up taking a lot of magic damage in a lane that otherwise wouldn't be happening.
1437 coming in with the Arctic Burn. That's, well, actually, I don't know about that one. He gets maybe 1 hit each on those 2 heroes, so that's a pretty long cooldown to expend for not a crazy amount of damage, but at this point, yeah, sure, that maybe wasn't the most efficient play, but it's really not going to matter too much. Divine Llama is still just going to sort of cover any, I guess, even potential miscues there as Sammy Boy continues to get pushed back. So if you're the Wyvern right now, yeah, you burn the Arctic Burn, but it doesn't really matter. And you see 1437 again going for these stacks. We saw this in the previous match. He is all about the efficiency here in the jungle. Can he actually get the double stack off here? He is going to go for it.
Yeah, I think he's got it.
Just got a file out of there.
Just a little bit too big.
Not quite making
this is all for the Axe. This is all for Divine Llama. His team, while they could wait for the Battle Fury on Yuma, I think that's them farming their Ancients not as much as they otherwise would like, and we'll see when the Axe eventually does decide to go there, because this is how 1437 likes to play Dota. He likes to consistently make these sort of easy decisions where I'm going to stack, I don't need to be in lane right now, I'm going to let my Axe do the work. And we'll see Divine Llama start to creep cut, and that's where Sammy Boy's lane gets a little bit hard up until he gets a few more resources, but we'll see if they go for some sort of crazy dive here.
Middle lane, Papatootie was initially jumped in on, but the TP in from 1437 was there for the backup. That forces some of the 4 Zoomers heroes back. Husky, though, was unable to get away. The Meteor comes in from Papatootie. They're going to be able to pick up the kill, and unfortunately for 4 Zoomers, that aggression sort of really turns against them. It's only Husky that they lose, but that is a 3rd straight kill. And that was about 2 or 3 heroes rotating into the middle lane. Gunner still don't want to be here. Slowed up by the grasp into the leech seat. He's getting a little bit of armor taken away there by that Forged Spirit as well, but they're not actually going to go in. If the Invoker doesn't go, the supports can't make the kill happen.
And top lane, Sammy Boy is getting pretty heavily pressured by Divine Llama. He used half of his HP just to keep the card alive a little bit longer. He's really trying to accelerate sort of the game plan here, but they're sort of getting away with it right now. While Divine Llama is going to be very farmed on this Axe, that's the one thing you can be sort of certain of with the D2 Hustlers lineup. Whereas at the same time, Brax is farming everything. He's farming his lane, he's pushing it out, he's going to the jungle, he's farming everything around Yuma, and Pendago hasn't been able to sort of stick down there. He's been giving Yuma a lot of soul XP, but at the same time, Yuma has been getting scared off a lot of these creeps.
Yeah, the presence of Brax +1, really, regardless of who that +1 is enough to discourage him from really pushing much further forward. So, last hit-wise, you do see that Jug starting to fall behind. 27-3 on the board. That's the lowest count among those core heroes. So, he's got to be careful, and he's got to try and find farm. That's a bit of a strange dichotomy. He's got to look for more opportunities, but not ones that put him in any danger. And this early in the game, that's much easier said than done, as he is potentially going to get jumped in on here. They're going right under the tower. They're going to hit him up with the Hex, into the Shockwave, into the Earth Spike, into the LSA. Is that enough damage? They're going to go for the Skewer now as well, but Yuma will be able to get off the Blade Fury. Does he just look for the TP out? He does, but he doesn't have the health. Brax is able to finish him off in time, and Yuma will fall.
And at the same time, it feels a little bit weird because you have all of these heroes stacked up top on the D2 Hustlers side. Sammy Boy immediately makes the rotation out, takes mid for a few waves. They see that just because Gunnar can farm the jungle, and Yuma doesn't make the call fast enough. He could have been top. They could have not necessarily swapped lanes. I think it was a little bit too much for any hero on the D2 Hustlers side to stay bottom, but still, they're just continuing to farm and getting away with murder. It doesn't feel great if you're D2 Hustlers.
Yeah, giving that one up is a bit unfortunate. First 3 kills of the game were theirs, but now we see that momentum maybe starting to stall a little bit here. But the good news is that the Axe is going to start farming up even really harder than he was before. You see Devi Lama getting himself into that jungle, looking for the stacks. Yuma has actually made his way over here as well with the Blade Fury. So this money is going to start to come in for them. So could see that lead sort of expanding a little bit further at this point. But the question now is, what do they do? Excuse me, what do they do with this farm? Devi Lama going for the Blink Dagger. That much was pretty obvious. But Yuma looking for the Maelstrom as his first sort of major item.
And it will be a very fast Blink Dagger. The Axe has been the one untouched hero of D2 Hustlers. And Papa Tootie, not too shabby himself. He's been holding his own versus Gunnar. But again, Sammy Boy has a lane to go back to where Yuma, he's sort of going to encapsulate the same space as Devi Lama. He's going to take a massive stack here. And Yuma, he wants a few of these, but again, it's sort of, yeah, he's going to give it up. Devi Lama's been taking all of those ancient stacks, so he's going to find his Blink Dagger somewhere else. Yuma needs to find a little bit more farm, though. He's really been sort of the sacrificial lamb on the Hustler side.
Feels a little bit weird to say that, sacrificing the farm on your carry this early on, but, well, I don't know. If that Maelstrom comes along fairly quickly, then he should have a little bit of extra damage to try and catch himself back up, but it would also be nice to see Yuma, once he has this Maelstrom, maybe try to look for some sort of fight. Not exactly a situation where he charges in first. Obviously, the Devi Lama is going to be sort of the prime candidate there, but if Devi Lama can sort of make the initiation happen, Yuma could come in with that Omni and try to find some kills, but right now, it's actually for Zoomers finding the pickoffs, as Sammy Boy finds Pandago in the river, able to take him down, and snipes out that healing ward as well for an extra 75, so a nifty little play for him, gets the kill, gets a bit of extra gold, and goes right back to farming, as he's going to make his way back up to the north side jungle.
Well, and at the same time, Sammy Boy has been that sacrificial lamb on the 4 Zoomer side. The big difference being you have in power. You're going to be able to rotate this Magnus around. He still hasn't left his lane yet. He has a full Yule Scepter 11 minutes into this game. It's going to be incredibly useful to counter Devi Lama, and he has his Blink Dagger. And let's see if these plays coincide. He's got the Blink Dagger. He's making a play on the Gunnar, but I think Gunnar might just sidestep it barely.
Yeah, they got to be able to bait him in, and Gunner's not going to fall for it. He's backing off to farm instead, so I don't know if they caught wind of this, or if they just suspected something, or if Gunnar just wanted the last hits at the perfect timing and gets away, but this is, unfortunately for D2 Hustlers, a sizable sort of group up. Pandago and Devi Lama are going to stand here for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and they're going to get very little out of this play. So how much longer do they stick around before Devi Lama looks for opportunities elsewhere?
And you see Brax bottom. He's just looking for kills. He knows that no hero can really exist here, and that's why you see the rest of D2 Hustlers smoking into the triangle looking for Gunnar, and we'll see if they get him. It's a little bit of a stretch. They see him.
This is going to be rough, but they've got it. The blink in, into the Sunstrike, into the Meteor. That's a pretty sizable amount of damage, and they've got it. Gunnar, yeah, that Mel's not going to do you any good. There's a Meteor literally rolling over your head as he will be taken down. And meanwhile, over in the bottom lane, 1437 taken down, gets off that Winter's Curse, but it's not going to matter. Brax doesn't quite have the damage to kill his teammate, so a 1-for-1 trade that they're going to be very happy with on that sort of D2 Hustlers side, but the fight's not actually over yet. Yeah, Papa Tootie in some trouble, trying to get away with the Ghost Walk. The sentry thrown down, though. That's going to allow Sammy Boy in for the kill. So I mentioned initially the trade-off would look good, but the trade wasn't quite done. It's now 2-for-1 in 4 Zoomer's favor.
Pandago.
And they might be looking for more. Yeah, Pandago trying to get himself away here. Those Trank Boots will allow him to sort of scurry his way back to safety. However, Devi Lama was still in a little bit of danger there. 4 Zoomers were looking for him, but they weren't able to make the jump in. So it looks like that fight will come to an end. 2-for-1, though, will get 4 Zoomers a little bit further ahead, and now a 1k net worth advantage in their favor.
And almost like ships in the night, Pandago and Ocean both weren't really ready for each other. And at the same time, they sort of disconnected. The Axe and the Invoker got a little bit too split apart, and that's why that punish even happened.
There it is.
Yeah, bottom.
Jumping in with the taunt into the Sunstrike. Ocean dangerously low. He's not getting out of here. He will be taken down. 1437 in with that hit with the Arctic Burn to find the kill, but now they want Brax as well, skewering his way through the tree line, but Dalai Lama's going to have that Blink Dagger up in a couple seconds. He needs to wait another second for the Berserker's Call, but he does manage to get it. Brax locked down. He does have an RP, but at this point there's no one here to help him, so it wouldn't be worth going for. He's just going to have to try and make it out under his own power, and he's not... Ooh. Not going to make it. He thought about it for a second. He was trying to basically bait his opponents into thinking he would go for the RP, but he's actually still out of here. He's going to skewer away. That Yule's play saves the day, and Dalai Lama, yeah, too late there on the blink call. So, nifty play from the Brax Magnus to get himself away from that fight. Meanwhile, his teammates taking advantage of the distraction caused by their mag to get some damage onto the tier 1. Not enough, though, to actually get through it, as that creep wave sort of dried up on them a little bit too quickly.
Well, and at the same time, they make the play with the finger on Husky. They're able to get the kill on the Invoker on his own high ground. And Pendago has spent so much time in the enemy triangle, in the sort of bot area, that he hasn't been able to get rid of a lot of these traps up until now. And it causes Papa Tootie to die. And losing your Invoker twice in a row, he hasn't been getting really the same amount of farm that every other core on 4 Zoomers has been able to have. While you did lose Ocean bottom, and you very nearly lost Brax, everyone else is just sort of farming, and now this is when Sammy Boy is going to catch up. He has that in power, and once he gets that Diffusal Blade, that's when you're going to see how sort of useless this Invoker can feel, because as soon as he's stuck in that smoke cloud, there really is nothing he can do except for Axe himself to jump and try and get inside that smoke cloud, but you can't call it once you're in the smoke cloud. That's why this Riki is such a sort of beast pick.
Yeah, we're not seeing the Invoker really making any progress towards any sort of defensive item. No Force Staff, no Yules, no BKB. He's looking for a Solar Crest, which, as you were saying, if he gets hit up by that smoke screen, it doesn't do you much good to just have some bonus armor from the Solar Crest. So, kind of interesting to see Papa Tootie going for the build that he's looking at right now. Maybe if he starts actually getting punished by that sort of silence play from the Riki, we might see the build change. But for now, it does look like a rather sizable sort of weak spot that 4 Zoomers could exploit. As Sammy Boy, I think he's just about done with the Diffusal. Yes, he is. Needs that last couple pieces to be brought out to him, but he does have the gold for it, so Courier will bring it out, and now might be looking for some renewed aggression from the 4 Zoomer side with the extra damage and the slow from that Diffusal pickup.
And that's where 1437 needs to be so on point with the Cold Embrace. If he's not able to find that save, then the heroes are going to die so fast, especially with the Desolator finished up on Gunner. If anybody dies near that Roche pit, the 4 Zoomers are going to immediately go in, get that Aegis, accelerate their schedule just further and further. And right now, they really are farming on all fronts. Nobody has really been shut down on their side. You had that one smoke play from D2 Hustlers, and aside from that one kill on Ocean, the game plan has really sort of halted for them. And now I'm glad they're finally getting a smoke up, but if this is also sort of a failed attempt, the next 5 minutes are going to feel like 4 Zoomers are just going to be able to sort of dodge you, do whatever they want.
Yeah, and this especially feels like it's going to hurt them even more on the D2 Hustlers side, considering we were talking about how quickly Dalai Lama had sort of built himself up. He had a Vanguard and a Blink at just an incredibly fast timing, and it just feels like they've kind of wasted that strong start for him. He's still...
Husky.
What's going on here in the top lane? They're going to jump in on to the Lion. Husky taken down. 1437. Very nearly picked off as well, but the Cold Embrace will keep him alive, or maybe not. Ocean in there with the stun, but Papa Tootie responds, connecting with the Tornado into the Cold Snap. They're going to try and lock the Lina down. Do they have the damage? Yes, they do. Ocean will fall. Dalai Lama, 2 kills in there with the Culling Blade. But over on the other side of the map, Gunner was able to actually track down Pandago.
Nice,
and look at the curse from 1437. The TPs are coming in. They want this fight. Dalai Lama, perfect blink into the call. Catching out 2. It's a triple kill now for him. He wants the Ultra, and Gunner, how the hell do you get out of this one? He's going to try to make some sort of play here, dropping that trap up on the high ground, looking for the slow, but Yuma does not care. He's going to push forward. They get another bit of lockdown in there, and Papa Tootie will take the kill. So 4 in total, 3 for Dalai Lama, 1 there for the Invoker at the end of the day, and that is a 4-for-1 trade. Exactly what we needed to see from D2 Hustlers at that point.
And there was no way they could have known. Yeah, they got
Sammy Boy, that is... No. You cannot afford to be there. Dalai Lama just blinks in again. The call is in. Yuma gets down the damage for the kill, and they're going to go right into the pit off the back of this as well.
And this is why the Soul Crest will feel pretty good on the Invoker. This is the only real chance they have to get it. But at the same time, what a string of kills. They had so much vision stacked towards bottom. I'm surprised Zoomers were maybe thinking that D2 Hustlers were stacked bottom with that Treant Protector trying to get some sort of play. It looks like he will finally die bottom, but you gave up so much. Divine Llama really did everything for his team there, put him on the back, saved the Juggernaut top, got the double call bottom. They really are playing up to speed. Four Zoomers have sort of thrown away a little bit of that lead that they're really just waiting for Brax to get this Blink Dagger, then maybe we'll finally see some plays coming from them, but still, it feels a little bit disjointed. Now giving up Roshan as well, I don't know. This is a chance for D2 Hustlers to definitely make sort of a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what is that? Pandago dead for Roche? I mean, you take that trade every single time, so for Four Zoomers, it's nice that they find that kill. That's still going to get them something, but so much of this momentum has just immediately shifted. You take a look at the graph here, net worth and experience-wise, it is pretty rapidly sort of shifting back towards even. They're still clinging to that lead for now, but the tides are beginning to turn. And Four Zoomers are going to have to try and do something to get themselves back into it, but they're now fighting into an Axe who has his groove back, has the Blade Mail online. They're going to be fighting into the Aegis as well, so really, where is that weak point that they exploit? Where is their in to really force that engagement? Ooh.
Barely.
Alright, I like the ambition. Not quite on point with the aim, but if Divine Llama is feeling confident enough to go for those kinds of plays, you know D2 Hustlers are liking the position that they're in.
And that is something that their lineup is so good at. They just stick 1-2 heroes bottom, whether it's Pandago or 1437, and they just push out the wave. Four Zoomers don't have the most fantastic tower push unless those heroes are dead or Gunner has that BKB, because otherwise he will just get turned on. And we saw in the previous game, if TA is in, she is in. There's not really any option for her to get out unless you have that Aghanim Scepter, you have the Psionic Projection, and you feel really trapped. And this gives so much space to Divine Llama to play with the other two cores. Him and Papa Tutti have really been sort of the chaos makers. And while Divine Llama, he has that Blade Mail now, he really could solo kill pretty much any member on the side of the Four Zoomers, except for Brax.
Brax, who now has his Blink Dagger online. So maybe this is what Four Zoomers need to try and, maybe not retake control, they're still up by about 1,000, but to sort of turn back this latest surge from their opponents. That Blink RP could really... Okay, that's... It could have set them up for something. Instead, Brax hits onto absolutely no one, and he's going to be forced to run away. That Tornado sort of clips him on the back end, but I don't think D2 Hustlers can really chase after him. But at this point, they win the fight because there is no fight. That's Blink RP blown.
Oh, barely. Bottom, Divine Llama tried to catch Sammy.
Not quite able to get it. Sammy Boy TPs himself away just in the nick of time. So, close call. Well, okay, that one was a close call, but the RP maybe not quite as close. But missed opportunities on both sides. But if you're D2 Hustlers, you blow a call and a Blink Dagger versus the RP now being down for quite some time. And we see D2 Hustlers almost immediately trying to take advantage of this. They push their way mid. They're going to get in onto Gunner. Gunner, this is not a great spot. He's going to get hit up by the Cold Snap into the Meteor. He's just getting tanked down. Divine Llama missing with the Culling Blade, but they will still find the kill, as Gunner will be taken down, and now they want more. Jumping in onto Husky. They get the Hex into the finger, though, onto that Jug. That is going to burn through the Aegis, but he's right back up. Husky's dead, and they have a chance to push for the Tier 2. Looking to take more control of the map as Yuma actually gets his S and Y delivered out to him as well. So everything coming up D2 Hustlers' way here. They do have to use the Aegis, but I think the haul that they get in exchange is going to be worth it.
And again, they sort of give nothing. They get the T2, they get out, they send one hero bottom. Brax is trying for this skewer so desperately on the 1437, he's just not giving it to him. If he gets too far forward, then there's maybe the punishment, but again, you're defending these towers, you have a Treant Protector, you're able to just simply heal them up, and it feels like Four Zoomers are running out of map control a little bit too fast. And while you were able to get that Aegis out, you use your finger again, you don't have it, it's not level 2, you have to wait a pretty decent amount of time. And maybe once you get this RP, Brax will finally start to make a play, but it's been an incredibly quiet game from Brax.
Yeah, you never want to hear that phrase. It's been a quiet game from the Magnus. That is the sort of disaster phrase to throw out there, but he's going to get another go at it. The Blink RP is still there, so a shot at redemption maybe in the future, but Four Zoomers are really starting to sort of lose some ground. Ocean, though. Okay.
Yeah, picked up an egg.
Yeah, there you go. That's going to be a little bit more in the way of sort of burst potential. They've got both the Laguna and the Finger, so in the right circumstances, maybe they can just nuke somebody down right at the start of the fight, try and get an advantage that way.
And that will definitely be the big advantage we'll see if he gets the Ag Shard next. That's one of the coolest interactions, being able to just sort of cleave through people, especially with the RP setup. But we're not seeing him be that secondary playmaker. In the previous game, one of the big reasons their draft worked out so much was you had Ocean on that Wind Ranger, and you were able to find plays after your plays, and that's when these sort of small punishments would come, because you're able to get the skewer backs off of Shackles, where in this game, you're not really going to skewer back off of an LSA. If you get an LSA, it's probably after Husky is able to land that Earth Spike, and in that sense, feels a little bit more disconnected. Yuma! He just barely TP'd out of mid. They had complete vision of him. He just barely didn't get Earth Spiked.
Able to get himself away as Yuma will survive that. Meanwhile, for Papa Tootie, BKB now picked up. We were talking about this earlier on, what felt like maybe 5 to 10 minutes ago, with the sort of smokescreen play out from the Ricky. But Papa Tootie is now going to be in a much better position to defend himself with that magic immunity. The lockdown from the Lina and the Lion will become less effective against him as well. So the Invoker's starting to gear up a little bit more towards the fight, and now that the magic immunity is online, the previous utility that he purchased becomes even more sort of confidence instilling for him. The Solar Crest and the Urn really can't be taken out of the fight, because he will have that BKB to pop, and now Hustlers looking to push their way forward. They've spotted their target, Ocean. There's no way out. He's just straight up dead here. He is going to get completely and totally wiped out. He's just looking for the creeps even. Realizing he's dead, might as well get as much money as he can before he goes.
Oh, hell yes. It feels like the Hustlers could be making a little bit more aggressive plays. They're playing slow, they're playing measured, they're not really giving anyone anything. Llama might look for... No, he can't get the call top. But at the same time, you have 4 heroes walking in mid. I don't think they know about Sammy Boy and his DD, but again, even this Ricky hasn't felt like he's been able to get in the backlines. I say that 1437, he's got to be so careful.
Force Staff will bail him out of that play, though, so Sammy not able to get it, but with that DD rune, you always have to be careful. With just 1 or 2 hits, the Winter Wyvern was taking a pretty substantial amount of damage. So, 1437 able to dodge it for now, and at this point, if you're D2 Hustlers, do you look to push back in? They're grouped up pretty heavily in this middle lane, so there is a potential opening for them. They're going to have to push their way forward, but it looks like they want it. Papa Tootie will pop that Ghost Walk, making his way into the north side jungle. Unfortunately, this is the wrong direction to go in. They needed to move a bit further east to run into 4 Zoomers directly, but opportunities to farm, if nothing else, but 4 Zoomers don't want to give them that time. They're going to smoke up as 5, and they're looking to push their way out. Can they guess the right direction, though? That will be the question for them. They're staggered a little bit here, waiting for everyone to sort of group up a little bit further, but now we do see the maneuver up the river. Who can they run into? Devi Lama is close.
Yeah, they're going to go a little bit deeper. I think they might see Papa Tootie, and they might see him Solar Crest. They're going to go and set in the triangle. They got Yuma.
They hit him up with a Hex into the Earth Spike, into the LSA. Even the Laguna Blade being deployed as Yuma will go down. Devi Lama, though, in onto Husky. Going to be able to take him down with that Culling Blade, but they need more, and they are going to get it. Nice play from the Wyvern, connecting with the ult onto about 2 or 3, but they need a little bit more than that. But there's the RP in for Brax, locking down 2. Gunner starting to dish out the damage. Sammy Boy coming in as well with that Tricks of the Trade. 1437 and Devi Lama will both be taken down. Now Papa Tootie in some trouble. That BKB, though, talked about it earlier, able to pop it to get out of the smoke screen, but at this point, it's less of a sort of triumphant BKB, more of a defensive one, and he might not get out of here still. No. Okay, Sammy Boy doesn't quite have the detection or the damage to make that play happen, but the fact that he can continue to chase in is maybe a bit indicative of the way that that fight went. 4 Zoomers lose the Lion, but they'll get 3 kills going their way, over 2,000 gold into their hands, and just in time for Roche to respawn.
And that is the bigger issue. Their lineup is so adept at taking it, and this is the second Roach, 26 minutes into the game. Fandango, they weren't able to really get set up. They didn't know about that smoke. Losing the Jug so fast, it really hurts because you didn't expend anything. It was very easily just Husky. He did end up taking the brunt of that Axe's call, but if your Lion is tanking the Axe call, that's absolutely ideal. And while Fandango will sneak in for a pretty nice overgrowth, this is a little bit scary.
They're going to get 1 kill onto Ocean, right? They do find that. Now Devi Lama in there with the taunt, pulling in the Templar Assassin. Gunner, though, still not dead just yet, but no, Yuma's going to be able to hit him up. So they do find that kill, and the rest of 4 Zoomers going to try to get away. Husky, though, they don't see him, but they know he's there.
Ooh.
And they catch up to him. Bullwhip's going to get him a little bit of extra move speed, but he's still being chased. No, he's not. Hustlers, okay, they looked like for a moment they were sort of breaking their way towards mid. It looks like they will now actually sort of give up on that chase. It's only the Lion at the end of the day, and they have a chance to push high ground instead, so they're not going to allow themselves to get sort of peeled off, or maybe they will. I don't know what Pandego was looking for there, but well, he's actually going to act as the bait. That is fantastic. The Cold Embrace from 1437 gets them directly into that fight, and Brax is dangerously low on HP as the Winter's Curse will be deployed. Brax taken down. 1437 gets the credit for the kill. Pandego does have to be sacrificed, but it's a 1-for-1 for now. Sammy, I don't know about that one. Jumping in initially with that Blink Strike. The Sun Strike, though, going to come in for a little bit of extra damage onto him, and at this point, your Ricky is dangerously low on HP. I don't think you really want him going in, but he doesn't have much of a choice. He had to get out of that path of the meteor, but now he's going to get hit up by the taunt. Axe is going to lock him down. That's going to be the Aegis taken out of his hands. Meanwhile, Papatuti jumping in. They get Ocean, they get Husky, and they're backing onto Sammy Boy, going to try to bring him down a second time. Can they actually lock him down, though? No, that was just off the mark with the taunt. So Sammy Boy will live. Gunner coming back into the fight as he will TP himself in, and I think this is D2 Hustler's cue to back themselves away, but they're going to hold on the high ground just in case. Okay, Sammy into the fight. Papatuti, though, saved by the Cold Embrace. Nicely done by 1437. He has been there every single time so far, and now Gunner is the one who's in some trouble. He's going to get slowed up as Hustler was trying to sort of push back in, but now Brax gets the move. Blinks in for the RP. Skewer onto 2, pulling both the Invoker and the Axe back. They take down Papatuti first. Devi Lama is going to have to try and get himself out of here. He wants to regroup with his teammates, but his teammates are a little bit further to the south, so Devi Lama is going to get stunned up, taken down, and at this point, this is starting to fall apart. D2 Hustlers have to be careful, but Yuma in with that spin. They do take down one as Husky will fall, but they need more than that. Brax going to get hit up here as well, but Yuma can't actually finish him off in time. The Yule Scepter will buy enough for the Magnus to get himself away. Sammy, meanwhile, just going right in onto the supports. Pandego and 1437 both taken down, and now Yuma is all by himself, but turns around for the spin, trying to get onto Brax, not going to find the kill, so instead he'll look for the TP, and he will finally make his way out of that fight. For Zoomers, though, I mean, they get so many kills on the back end there. It really feels like D2 Hustlers could have just kept on pushing mid. Instead, they break off for that secondary engagement, and it doesn't go the way that they wanted it to.
And they do kill, I think, Husky twice there, Brax once, Ocean as well. And all of that was really just led up by the TA going down in the first place. But at the same time, you kite it out a little bit too long. Sammy Boy, really, whatever target he goes on is going to get cold embraced. But the issue being, if 1437 himself is the one getting gone on, there's nothing you can do. You have to save him. You have to force stuff out. And if he sees and knows what you have and what you don't, this Ricky just runs wild. You lose the gem there as well. You lose Papatuti and Devi Lama. It was really Brax salvaging that fight, able to get the Horn Toss, get the RP underneath the tier 2 after BKBs were already gone. They can't give him this many openings. And now Gunner as well. You saw the shard there causing so much chaos. Pandego had to sort of get an unideal ultimate where he had to sort of really just hold 2 heroes in place. He wasn't able to find Sammy Boy and everybody getting cleaned up. Really, you can't afford any more losses like that. If D2 Hustlers lose another fight in such a convincing fashion, then 4 Zoomers are just going to walk all over you.
Yeah, and I think the good news at this point for Hustlers is the fact that that fight, or the loss in the second fight, really just comes down to them maybe being a little bit greedy. As I mentioned, first fight goes their way. They were looking pretty good. I was mentioning they could probably push their way down mid, even if they don't want to go for that objective. It could have been a point there where you just sort of back off, you take a teamfight win, and you're good to go, but the greed sort of backfires on them, so in that regard, it's a bad play. But next time around, if they sort of avoid that same pitfall, if they don't try to push too far, things could go better for them, as they are going to look for the fight now. Papatuti popping the BKB, Devi Lama meanwhile in with the taunt. They connect onto Sammy Boy. Where is the follow-up here? They're going after Ocean, but I mean, they do get that kill, but the Ricky seemed like he would have been a bit more valuable, but they're not able to lock him down in time, and now Gunner turning around for the damage. But there's going to be the Deafening Blast coming out onto him. The BKB will be forced out, but the Omni is in now. Gunner dropping low, down to about 1/3 of his HP. Can they finish him off in time? Not quite yet. Brax in with the RP. Can he save the day? No. Yuma, with that Aghanim Shard, going to be able to spin his way forward. They do take Gunner down. Sammy will now fall as well. The only hero they lose is Devi Lama, as Yuma picks up the triple kill, and D2 Hustlers are going to be able to pull it off. So that's exactly what I was sort of saying. The last teamfight loss came because they sort of overextended and got a bit too greedy. They bring it back, they get the execution exactly where they need it to be, and they take the fight.
And it felt really strange. You really got separated. You have the dust on Yuma. You wait for him to pump the BKB so he can't purge it, and he eats a full Omni Slash. No one is there to help tank it. You haven't built Yule Scepters except for on Brax, and Brax had to wait to RP after just because he was slightly disconnected from the TA. And for Zoomer's positioning, they had the wards. They had a full setup there. I'm really surprised that they actually lost that fight. It felt like their positioning just broke down a little bit too fast. And that was with Papa Tootie popping his BKB incredibly early and just running at you. Once he didn't have BKB, he 100% could have got turned on, but there wasn't a BKB, there wasn't a target for Sammy Boy to jump into. It felt like it was really up to Brax to be there and just a little bit closer, and then the fight could have gone their way, but instead it just comes up all D2.
And yeah, as you mentioned, Sammy Boy sort of looking for his moment, sticking around a little too long, maybe hoping to use Ocean as bait, but that brings us to Divine Llama making those plays again. He blinked in, he got that call into Sammy Boy. There wasn't anyone there to immediately help him finish the kill, but at that point, the call takes him out of the fight for long enough, and that's where really the positioning starts to break down. By the time that taunt ends, Ocean's already dead, Sammy Boy is sort of stuck in the fight, and the rest of Four Zoomers just desperately try to sort of push their way over to help out, and we saw the results. They're just too broken up. Next time around, they can't really afford to lose that cohesion, but well, they do have some good news. That is a Satanic picked up on the Templar Assassin, so Gunner going to be significantly harder to bring down in this next fight. BKB Satanic is 9 times out of 10 really just going to keep you safe in almost every situation, but now Yuma's also gearing up as well. He's got that Aghanim Scepter, so the Swift Slash is online. So much more damage and mobility for Yuma to work with, and between that and the Shard upgrade, he's going to be flying his way through these fights.
Yeah, and with Gunner's build, it does feel sort of like a mixed bag. He has the Ag Shard that silences, he has a Satanic, he will be able to be slightly tankier, and he won't get bursted by the Axe really anymore. He needs other heroes to finish off that kill. But still, this TA does not have the best attack speed. She doesn't have sort of that steroid that the Riki has, and they're just running away from this Axe. They're terrified.
God, look at them go. They're just charging in. Papa Tootie off the mark there with the tornado. That could have set them up. That's okay. Sun striking to see if there's anything up there, but no ward. Four Zoomers were just a little bit faster on the draw, getting themselves away from that play, and now Gunner's got a DD rune bottled up. Okay. That could be a potential difference maker. We'll see just who he can jump in onto, though, in this next fight. It is worth noting, we were talking about that Satanic play. There's no blink on the TA, so he doesn't quite have the same amount of mobility that we would sort of maybe expect from him normally. So, a lot of damage, but might not be able to jump in onto that backline as quickly as he would like to.
And with this build specifically, it feels a little bit strange. He's going for the butterfly next. We already see that there is an MKB queued up on Yuma, sort of reading into that situation, but they're just playing on this ward. They want to see if they can get a small RP, try to get on Papa Tootie probably.
Oh, there it is. Oh. Jumping in onto the Invoker. They hit him up. They take him down. That's a nice play. Husky, though, going to get taken down in exchange as Brax. That's an interesting RP. Really only hitting onto one, and now Yuma into the fight. Omni Slash will be deployed. It's splitting between several heroes, but the damage is still there. Now Sammy might be in some trouble, but he's going to be able to use the tricks of the trade. Jumping himself down onto the low ground, and Four Zoomers will make their retreat. That is a fantastic fight for them. Lion taken down, but they get 3 kills, and they force out a couple of buybacks before they eventually make their retreat.
And they use their Omni Slash. They use 2 buybacks. They're not able to get any rebuttal. And this is coming at such an important time, 29 seconds, and Roshan will respawn. You might see them try to just do anything, try to maybe get another smoke up. They're trying to get some of these traps out of this neck of the woods, but at the same time, it feels so difficult for them to make a play now. If Divine Llama goes down again, he doesn't have that armor item. We don't see him pick up that plate mill just yet, and it's really unfortunate. I saw him getting right-clicked by a Riki and a TA there at sitting at almost -10 armor. He just takes so much damage, and it's not feeling like he's the monster that he was maybe 5 minutes ago. And Four Zoomers maybe allotted a little bit too much space to farm with this empowered Riki Magnus.
Yeah, that is the thing that I feel like D2 Hustlers may be, to a certain extent, losing sight of. Sort of the fact that they've had a lead previously, but I don't know. As long as Brax is here, as long as the Empower is out there, Four Zoomers have a way back really in from any situation. You see now, they've actually managed to swing a net worth lead into their hands, about 3, actually closer to 4K up at this point. They haven't quite cracked that threshold just yet. The point remains, though, they can't be given that much time, as you were sort of warning about. The longer this game goes on, the bigger the Riki, the Templar Assassin, even the Mag himself, is really going to get in relation to D2 Hustlers lineup. And you can already see Divine Llama relatively far down there in terms of the net worth. The Papa Tootie's position is slipping as well, so they've got to try and do something here to retain or regain control. Otherwise, Four Zoomers may just be able to outfarm them and eventually start out fighting them as Divine Llama. That is not a real hero.
Unfortunately, it's all eyes on Brax. If Brax is able to get another RP, that RP previously was just on Pandango. He hasn't really gotten the bag yet. He hasn't been able to get exactly what he wants. But now you have to be so cautious. There's so much vision that 4Zoomers can just sort of put around. If Devialama isn't close enough, you don't get to see those traps with the gem. And they're looking for the fight. They want to find something.
Gunner, gotta get hit up initially. BKB comes out, but the Omni is going to be there. Swift into Omni actually gives him so much damage, and Gunner's already dead. He's got a buyback, but he is almost certainly going to have to use it here as Brax goes in for the RP, but it just doesn't do anything. They have absolutely no response. Brax taken down, Winter's Curse, locking down both Sammy and Ocean. They're both dead as well, and this is turning into an unmitigated disaster. Brax is going to buy back, but at this point, he's already deployed the RP, so this is really just a defensive measure, trying to keep their teammates safe as Sammy Boy is on the run, but Hustlers is going to keep on tracking him down. Tricks of the Trade, though, will buy some time. He is going to be able to fall back for now as he jumps over to Husky, but Husky is now going to be targeted as well. Yuma pushing in with that Ag Shard upgrade. He just doesn't care. He goes in, he gets the damage. And Papatootie maybe a little bit too far, but Swift Slash, he's going to get the Juggernaut further forward. Sammy's still in trouble. Dropping low, they'll take him down. Yuma gets the double kill. Now Pandango in for the overgrowth. And Brax is not going to be able to get himself out. He does have the skewer, so maybe he can get out as... Actually, yeah, they're going to turn their attention onto Gunner entirely, completely ignoring that mag as they get the more valuable kill. That's Gunner's buyback as well. He's down for 2 minutes, and that may just be the point where D2 Hustlers completely break this one open.
And while you will have the Magnus and you will have the Lina respawning in a few here, you can't help but feel like the game might just end. There's no buyback on the Riki. Your strongest hero is dead for 65 seconds. They might just go and try to end this game. I don't think they realized how long Pandango held his ulti. Yeah, they're going to have Glyph, but I don't know what they do.
It's not going to be enough to matter at this point. The Lina's back in, but the mag is still out of base, so without Brax, there is no defense here. And really, what can they do? That Glyph is buying a couple of seconds, but as soon as it's over, they're right back in it. D2 Hustlers pushing forward as the Laguna Blade is deployed by Ocean. It's not going to do a whole lot of good, though. He should be dying here with the Meteor on top of him, and I don't know. I don't think 4Zoomers have enough left in the tank, but at this point, D2 Hustlers are actually chasing after Brax. This is certainly an interesting play. They are going to be able to bring him down, not with the Culling Blade, but it doesn't matter. They still get the kill, and now they'll return their attention to the Ancient as it is... Excuse me, it is entirely exposed. Tier 4 tower... Oh, God. Tier 4 tower is taken down. Husky locked in, and yeah, this is over. GG will be called, and D2 Hustlers gonna get their first win of this group stage, and they bring a 5-game winning streak for 4Zoomers to an end. Very nicely done, sort of showing out here in the second half of this series.
And really, it's the individual performances. Papatootie and Devialama, they came to play. Even in the lanes, they were really working the 4Zoomers. I feel like 4Zoomers, they had a better lineup on pretty much all fronts, but the game plan just felt like it kept on getting extended longer and longer with the Wyvern and with the Train Protector just constantly defending towers. They never had enough gas in the tank to sort of either dive behind the towers and kill everyone or just farm up. And they definitely had a chance there where they could have just sat back, farmed, done whatever they wanted, but D2 Hustlers kept on bringing them sort of back to the pit. Getting that first Aegis was a massive win for them in the first place, but following that, Devialama really just crawled them out of the pits. Same with Papatootie. Papatootie kept on finding those 6 tornadoes. They kited out. Even his BKB usage, while it seemed questionable at first, the supports really didn't live up to their names on the 4Zoomer side. And I think especially Brax, he really struggled to find any RPs, any sort of blink skewers. He had 2 that felt really, really good, but you had to wait 25, 30 minutes. It felt like his openings were just so few and far between that he missed definitely a few, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and while Brax was able to make some contributions, obviously, with that Empower play onto Sammy and Gunner, as you said, he can't just be there to buff up his teammates. At the end of the day, you are still relying on him for that teamfight power, for those initiations, and more often than not, he was either whipping entirely or hitting really the wrong heroes, especially in those last couple of fights. We saw his RPs onto, I guess, maybe 1 or 2 supports at best, so...
I think putting Ocean on Lina, definitely, just, you don't want to do it. You had that secondary playmaker in the line this time around, but I feel like when you had him on that wind, it really made your lineup feel strong.
Yeah, and we saw in Game 1, a pretty massive impact with that Wind Ranger. So, a bit of a disappointment, really, I would say across the board here for 4Zoomers, but you can't win every game forever, right? Every winning streak must come to an end. 4Zoomers find that out the hard way, as they will still salvage a 1-1 split here. So at the end of the day, they still come away with points, but the undefeated streak is coming to an end. However, that is going to be it for our second series of the day. We're going to be moving into the third, and 4 Zoomers have a chance to simply start a new winning streak. They are going to be in action once again. They just faced off against an NA squad. They'll be playing up against a South American opponent coming up next, as we will see 4 Zoomers facing off against Ego Boys. So that one should be coming up in just a little bit here, but before we hop on into that commercial break, it is time for a word from our event sponsor, LootBet. New users on LootBet can get themselves a 100% bonus on their first deposit of up to 150 euros. Use promo code PRO on loot.bet. That's PRO, P-R-O. Meanwhile, existing users can also find more promotions when they visit LootBet as well. So thank you once again to LootBet for sponsoring this event. Go check them out. Use that promo code if you are a new user. As always, though, please do remember to bet responsibly. So that is all for series number 2. We're going to be moving into series 3 in just a few more minutes. It will be 4 Zoomers up again, as we said, facing off against Ego Boys. So stick around. We got some commercials to play, but when we come back, it will be that next series.